Welcome back to CEEN Caribbean News. It's now time to go in depth. The state of Jamaica's healthcare system could easily be blamed on either the People's National Party or the Jamaica Labour Party administrations and the respective ministers of health. But immediate past president of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association, Dr. Alfred Dawes, who has earned the ire of health ministry officials for his public honesty, says blame is to be equally distributed. Dr. Dawes says what has and continues to destroy not only the health system but the country in general is political tribalism. If there is one culprit responsible for the shambled state of Jamaica's healthcare system, it would be politics and subsequently the tribalism it continues to foster in the country. So says outlawed medical doctor and former head of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association, Alfred Dawes. It was Dr. Dawes who blew the whistle on the poor state of the sector, crying out how doctors and nurses were being forced to carry out their duties in unsanitary conditions, among the other organizational issues. Dr. Dawes, in his revelation early this year, said surgeons were performing surgeries with scandal bags over their gowns because the requisite aprons were not being made available, and some basic needs, such as proper sanitizing agents, were not being provided. The health ministry tried to make it seem like things were not as bad as Dr. Dawes was professing, but when the country demanded that the health audits commissioned by the ministry be released, what became public knowledge as a result was far worse than even Dr. Dawes had declared. The laparoscopic surgeon, who initially said he resigned from the JMDA to focus on his professional advancement, later said he'd basically been blacklisted from being employed in the public healthcare sector because he spoke out. Speaking at a luncheon on Tuesday in what he says was the last time he'd speak on the topic, Dr. Dawes professed that he refuses to be a political pawn and blames the state of the health sector on politics. In fact, he contends it's not just the health sector that suffers from the game of politics, but the entire country. Disagreeing with the notion that Jamaica is a failed state, Dr. Dawes says Jamaica is instead a failed nation, as it is the people who continue to fail themselves.
Instead of uniting for the development of our country, we have created divisions and engaged in subversion of our self-minted enemies that has resulted in our nation being torn apart. And for that, we have failed as a people. We have failed as a nation. We are the reason why we have economic stagnation. We are the reason why we have high crime rates and failing schools. We are the reason why we have dead babies. We, through our divisive politics, have destroyed the dream of what could have been a greater Jamaica. Throughout history, mankind has created divisions based on religion and ethnic origins. Jamaica has been blessed to have a relatively tolerant society without wars based on race or beliefs. We have escaped that which up to today still plagues many of our neighbors.
He contends that the country has failed that blessing, instead creating a platform on which division can thrive.
There are no Shiites versus Sunnis, Muslims versus Jews, Tutsis versus Hutus, blacks versus Indians or whites. But instead of using our homogeneity to become a great country, we created our own tribes based on political allegiances. We know of the JLP and PNP tribes, but there is a third tribe. A tribe that has been repeatedly spat upon, abused, disrespected, and exploited by the two ruling tribes. I speak of the tribe comprising those whose votes cannot be bought and who do not contribute significantly to the ruling tribes. These are the people who will never see the benefits of handouts come election time, or be rewarded with top jobs and lucrative contracts by whichever party is in power. They stand to get nothing because of their shifting loyalties and refusal to vote consistently along party lines. They do not vote, so governments are not determined by their favor. Instead, they are formed by the work of party diehards who only see enemies in those wearing different colors. It is these voters who must be seduced. And while some are true patriots, others are loyalists because they know what victory at the polls will mean for them.
This political tribalism, Dr. Dawes believes, will always result in boards being appointed based on political allegiance rather than merit.
Would not be intimidated into cowering in fear and not speak up lest we be persecuted. This is what happens not just in the Ministry of Health, but throughout Jamaica land we love. Were successive administrations really concerned about the development of the nation, they would employ competent managers. The policies implemented and maintained would not be geared towards appeasing their donors and loudest supporters, but would be consistent with the dream that Jamaica, with its blessings of location, history and people, can one day regain her place as a jewel of the Caribbean. We, however, cannot expect this from those whose only objective is to remain in power.
He says it is up to the politically neutral few to provide a saving grace for the nation.
It is up to us who see without a green or orange tint to save Jamaica. The Jamaica that at her birth was a shining example of what self-governance should be. And we have already begun. The winds of change are blowing and the old order is crumbling. The times are changing. Those who have been silent are now finding their voices. Hope is once again alive. The hope that divisions created by one generation will be torn down by a new generation of patriots. Already social media is creating a new avenue for advocates to unite and spread their messages. The traditional media will not relent when questions of national importance are not adequately addressed. 9-day wonders are refusing to go away unless the voices of outreach are appeased. The establishment has grown uneasy, knowing that who will not come forward publicly will leak any cover-ups to which their conscience object. There are no bystanders complicit by their silence. Jamaicans are fed up, and the hope that we will one day unite for change is being manifested every time we make the government listen to our concerns and act on them.
And he calls on the wider society to play a part in reviving the true meaning of transparency in governance.
The checks and balances of democracy no longer lie only with the opposition party of the Westminster system, but with this new mass movement for change, a movement allied with the media, the private sector, and civil society groups. The deferred dream of one generation is being fulfilled by the sustained advocacy for better governance by another. Whether you realize it or not, we're in the midst of a struggle for the soul of our country. The battle lines have been drawn, and you must choose your allegiance. Years from now, when the story of this struggle is told, which side of history will you be on? Will you be a defender of a corrupt system, or will you be on the side of those who fought for better governance, transparency, and accountability? The moment to decide is now, and the choice you make will determine whether we continue down this path to destruction or we unite to create a greater Jamaica.